Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. And today we are discussing the first two episodes of Disney Plus's animated series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian. I am joined by Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
As well as Mikey Peniston.
Hello, everybody.
So you guys are the animation aficionados, but we're all Marvel fans. I think I could confidently say we're all Spider-Man fans. But we had some hesitance coming into this series. There was a clip that was shown on social media a couple days ago. I might have sent it in the animation group chat, and we were all like, oh boy, this looks not that great. But Disney Plus, despite that, they released two episodes, has a very unique sort of release schedule what they're doing. They did two episodes first. Next week we're getting three. The following week we're getting three, and then we're ending with two. And I think it's good that we got two episodes because I think both episodes are very different. And obviously the first episode is kind of the very quick origin of Peter getting his powers, where the second episode, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well, we obviously get at the tail end of the first episode, but more of a focus on Norman Osborn and what his influence is going to mean on Spider-Man in general. And we might have talked about this in a past episode or whatever, but Colman Domingo, two-time Oscar nominee, is voicing Norman Osborn, which I think is crazy. It's awesome for Marvel to bring him into the fold to do something like this, especially because a lot of the other characters are not voiced by these bigger actors of name necessarily. A lot of them are like probably either better known for doing animation or just lesser known actors that are getting the opportunity to voice some of these characters. But Mikey, I want to start with you. You're the third episode we ever did of the Cinema Wave podcast, you and I covered Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I believe it was. Yeah,
it was
Across the Spider-Verse. We have a Miles Morales mask over there to prove it. And you're obviously a huge Spider-Man fan in general, and Spider-Verse is coming from animation. So this, I believe, is the second Spider-Man animated thing. Like, we haven't had any other animated Spider-Man stuff besides Spider-Verse. Also because it's very highly regarded. It's one of the greatest animated series ever. So what are your thoughts on this? You said you had a lot of thoughts coming in, so I want to start with you.
Going into it, I was definitely skeptical, just as skeptical as you guys, I imagine. It looked a little weird, the animation, but I was willing to give it a shot. I enjoyed it, the first two episodes. I'm not going to say they were bad. I think that the story is cool, and certain things that they're doing in terms of like aligning it to what we've already seen as far as Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think is really cool. I don't really need to get too far into this right now, but there are definitely some ploys that Disney and Marvel, I think, are doing here. And I mean, it's smart what they're doing, but at the same time, I'm one of those people where I'm like, oh, this is like, okay, this is, and I'll instead of being so vague, I'll just say it. It's almost like they watched Into the Spider-Verse and were like, yo, what if we took a black character but made everybody black and just kept Peter as like white? And I don't mean that in like a really bad way. I'm not trying to like bring race into this at all, and I know that's not the focus of this. But like after a while, I was like, oh, Norman, okay, like that's okay. And then like we got the Connor's character at one point, and then like it was
Lonnie
like
Lincoln,
Pearl, the love interest,
Asha.
Yep. A lot, everybody's interacting. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, are they milking that? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, maybe I could be the person to say that coming from like a black, voice, but I don't know. It was just something where I was like, oh, that's, again, it's not important at all. And it's not like it's making this bad. It's just, it was something that I noticed that was like, is that something that they're using strategically here to push this show? And is that one of the reasons why the show was even really made in the first place?
Interesting. Vinny?
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting perspective. For me, like the show generally, I'm like very passive about it right now. Like I'm gonna be real. I went into this, I wanted to hate it. because the clips, they like looked really bad. They looked really bad. I wanted to hate this. And hearing that it already got renewed for a third season, despite us not even seeing a single episode, I was like, yo, this is an industry plant show. This is not real. Like, they put this here. This is an industry plant. It's all of the above. However, there's actually some things that I'm enjoying about this show, but still not like raving about. This is not like, it's nothing on the level of Spider-Verse, like you guys mentioned. Like, even the animation it's better than the clips that were shown, but still there's a lot of times where the 3D models don't look good. Sometimes it does look cool, but a lot of the time, especially when like the 3D model looks directly towards the camera and like it's a front plane view of the face, I'm like, well, it's like for like a frame, but even for that one frame, it like catches you off guard. I don't know if I mess with the character design and what they're doing there with that, but overall it's nothing terrible. It's really not that bad. But however, what really surprised me was, especially in the second episode, where we're seeing now Peter Parker existing. I think that's what everyone loves in Spider-Man, and having like this nerdy kid, he's just existing, and like the interactions between characters. I thought they really nailed that when they're in the lab and they're all just like, witty, going back with each other, and the doctor there, and I was like, wow, I want more of that. And that kind of peeled me into the first episode not really being that much of a tension grabber for me, but that second episode actually kind of showing something a little bit more cool. And then also that cliffhanger that you mentioned is really cool, like seeing that Norman knows he's Spider-Man from the get-go. There's no like prolonged who's Spider-Man. Like, no, it's
jumping right into it. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that I was surprised with how much I enjoyed the character interactions. I do agree that I think episode 2 was a lot stronger than episode 1. We do get the Doctor Strange cameo in episode 1, which I did like. I like the old-timey design of Strange. And again, you guys are the animation people, so I can't speak from it, but I will say it felt jarring at times. I understood totally what they're going for, because they want that like Steve Ditko like comic book style. I love the intro of the show. Like, I like the song with the animation that they do there, and how it ends. The opening credit sequence ends with like a comic book cover, and it's actually a still from the episode. I think that's a cool detail, and I think it's obvious that they're trying to give a nod to comics, which I totally understand. And that's kind of a Spider-Verse pull. They just kind of decided to make it their own. I do want to discuss what you brought up too, because they do highlight a lot of, whether it's black characters, like characters that exist in the comics that are already black, or they're creating these characters from scratch, or they're race changing, which happens all the time now in movies in general and comics and things. The series is created by a black man. So I don't think Jeff Trammell. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
So I don't know if that plays into it for whatever reason or not. I liked from the get-go that we're making Norman black, especially because like I wouldn't want Colman to voice a white character.
Yeah.
Plus he does not have the voice to voice a white character. He has a very distinctively silky, chocolatey sort of vibe to him.
100%.
I'm just so excited to see him in something, and I want to see more of that. But I agree with what you were saying too, Vinny. Like, establishing that Norman is fully aware by the end of the episode that Peter is Spider-Man, I think adds a whole different dynamic to what could come in the future, which I'm excited about. I like that we get nods to certain characters. Like, we see Dr. Amadeus Cho, who's the Hulk son, in the lab with him, which I think is cool. We have Asha, who's just another... I thought it was Shuri at first. Like, when she turned around, I'm like, oh, is that Shuri? And it's like, I am Asha. I'm like, oh, okay, definitely not Shuri. But I would agree. I think that I'm not necessarily... Like, I don't know if passive is the right word, because there's things that I do enjoy about it. But their animation is going to definitely take some getting used to. And I will say, based on what I've seen from Rotten Tomatoes, not all the things are in. There was even less reviews earlier that I saw, but the early returns were that that critics loved the show, but the audience rating was lower than, like, way lower than that to start. So I think that and that worries me because I don't want it to be. I hope it's not a race thing. I don't know if that's what it could potentially be. I think it really genuinely has to do with how I don't know if unsettling is the right word either, but it's just like the animation style feels weird.
Yeah.
Like so much. Like for me, it's like you were talking about the head-on animation. For me, it's like when Peter turns his head and you have like a giant black shadow across his face. It looked like he had a beard. And I'm like, this looks weird to me. Like it doesn't look like it fits. Aunt May also, they turned into like a fucking OnlyFans model. Like I don't even know what's going on there. That was crazy. I'm like, I was like, again, like Marissa Tomei is hot enough. Like let's let's model. Like that's been a thing on Twitter for years. Like, damn, bro, why'd they make Aunt May hot? Like why did they do that? Now she like looks like she's a 31-year-old. I'm like, what is happening? So those are my early takeaways, obviously, with it. I think it's fun. I think the show was fun. I'm interested the relationship between him and the female character that his friend. You know, Nico.
Yeah,
that's an interesting dynamic that I'm interested to see where they go with it, because Spider-Man also has the history of being in these love triangles, whether it's with Gwen or whether it's with MJ, and you said it's Nico, right? Is her name?
Yeah,
Nico.
In the comics, she's Sister Grimm.
Okay, I think that there's something going on there. Maybe and it's underlayer because it's like so much of it is that they're like buddy, but I don't know. There's something about that feels romantic to me at some point, or maybe she'll turn on him. I don't know. Especially if Sister Grimm a villain character.
I'm not sure actually.
Okay,
I'm not sure. Maybe she looks villainous.
Okay, I've never heard of from the image on Google. I've never seen Sister Grimm, but
neither have I.
You have anything else on just broad thoughts to open it up?
To open it up,
or specific things you wanted to talk about, like through the first 2 episodes.
I mean, I did want to touch on the Norman Osborn, that whole dynamic. I agree. I like the cliffhanger that we got as far as him knowing the whole Spider-Man reveal. I will say it's really interesting that they're kind of setting him up right now in a similar way that they set up Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like that whole scene at the end of episode 1 was like straight out of Civil War. Like when he's like walking and he's like, hey May, da, 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 and then like Norman's sitting there.
Oh yeah, like shot for shot when he's like on the couch and stuff. Yeah.
It's literally that, and like words, like dialogue, everything. And so for him to like now know this too, knowing that Iron Man, knew his secret and kind of helped him come up with it all. And also you have that one moment where like Peter's walking to his office and you see like there's like a photo of Captain America and Norman. So clearly Norman in this world is like, I don't know if he's like Green Goblin Norman. Like he seems like he's kind of portraying more of like an Iron Man role that we've seen so far in this cinematic universe. And that's what I could compare it to. I would be cool to see like it's some sort of twist with that, or if Harry, I know we've already met Harry at this point. I don't know if they've had that revealed that they're related, but I mean, we all know Harry.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something interesting.
He's like a political mafioso in this, it feels like. And Nico even makes like that. She's like, everything he gets involved in is sketchy. But like you already said, like, and Iron Man exists in this world because they show him on the as the like the car ornament, like hanging from the mirror. And like you said, Captain America's been brought up. So there's gonna be more heroes. We already saw Strange. We're gonna see more villains. There was like a symbiote in the premiere as well, which was interesting. But yeah, the dynamic between the two of them is what has me the most like excited looking forward. And here's a question for both of you guys, because in terms of animation with Marvel and the MCU, even though it's all not really connected, we've had What If now, which I don't know if any of us watch it or have watched it consistently. Like I watched season 1, I watched a couple episodes of season 2, never watched season 3. And then X-Men 97, which we covered on the channel. You guys should check out if you guys want to. But if this show opens up animation for Marvel, or maybe even this comes out before X-Men 97, do we think it's better received? Because X-Men 97, like, and I'll just preface again by where we're at Rotten Tomatoes wise, 96% from critics, 72 from audiences, which is still not bad. It's positive, but people are not responding to this. Like Marvel fans are not responding to this the way that maybe the critical success is. Where on the other hand, X-Men 97 for Rotten Tomatoes were at a 99 and a 91. So if this show gets released before X-Men, which we're all huge fans of,
yeah.
do you think there's a different reception, Vinny?
That's hard. Honestly, no. I don't think it'd be much of a difference. I think it's just because even if it came out before X-Men 97, it's just very kind of a middle of the line type of show. And there are other shows in the universe of Marvel, albeit not animated, that even were before 97. You know, Loki is incredible and people love that. So I don't think that it would have changed a lot. I do think though that now that 97 came before this, there definitely is now that on people's mind. But I just think when you're looking at these two products on an individual basis with no, like, pretend they're not even connected to the grandness of Marvel and Disney, X-Men 97 is just so much more impressive. The animation is beautiful in 97. The writing is, you don't even have to watch the original show, and yet in such a short period of time, they dive right into it. They don't even have to have exposition. It's already just there for you. And 97 has moments of complete, like, bone-chilling monologues from Magneto and Professor X, and incredible moments like Storm's revival that we talked about. This show seems more that it's, albeit it seems more aimed towards like younger audiences. This show. I was
gonna bring something up.
So maybe that's why it's a little bit more, for lack of better terms, it's more like baby food. You know. Yeah, I just don't think it's like I said, it's not bad. Like, we're enjoying aspects of the show. And I'm excited to see, especially what they're going to do with Norman now, and Dr. Connors, the lizard. Is she going to become the lizard? Mm-hmm. Right. So, but just from a grander spectrum of things, like, even if 97 came out after this, like, there's still so many other animated shows I can compare it to, and it doesn't even grace the quality level of some other shows.
Yeah. Know? So Jeff Trammell, who I said was the head writer on this, his best, like, his claim to fame, essentially, what he wrote before this, was Craig of the Creek, which is a Cartoon Network show, I believe. Yeah. So this is the first, like, everything he's done previously sounds like or seems like it's. Amphibia was another one, which I think was also a Cartoon Network show. The Owl House. Like, these are all things that were either Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or whatever it might have been. Mm-hmm. So you're jumping from that to, obviously Disney is a bigger property, but they deal in childish stuff. And the other thing was that this was originally, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, this was originally conceived as Spider-Man freshman year.
That's right.
It had a different title. Wow. There were different character models, still kind of in the Steve Ditko style, but I think it was not, I don't think it was 3D.
Oh.
I don't know if it was 3D initially. I might be wrong on that.
Huh.
And I'd love to, I gotta see if there's an interview with some of the animators on the show, because I am curious on some of the decisions and why they went that way.
Yeah.
But there's just, and this was a show that was announced, I think, in like 2019 or 2020. So it's like they've been working on it for a while, like Vinny alluded to. Like, they're already, the show's renewed through season 3. So they want to keep going with it, obviously. But I agree with what you were saying too. Like, X-Men 97 is just like, it's tonally entirely different, and it's a much more mature show. I mean, there's like, I'm not to say there's not going to be character deaths in this, but like, they're like legitimate emotional character deaths, like in X-Men 97.
Yeah.
And this, though, we're 2 episodes in. I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
Are you the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way for the most part. I do think that they're in definitely different leads, for sure. I also think that there are a few factors that play into it that made sense, I feel like, as to why I may be going along with your initial question to it all. Like, X-Men 97 was like the comeback of something that, like, and like people from back in the day could like kind of enjoy, while younger kids could still kind of learn something new and like know about those X-Men characters. And I feel like X-Men and Spider-Man are both like the two names that you probably think of immediately when you think of, maybe not today because of the cinematic universe. But I mean, like typically like X-Men, Spider-Man, those are like Marvel. You think those characters, but like because it's a new style, it's a new film. A new story. I don't want to say not a new story, but because it's new, the Spider-Man show, I feel like that will have an effect on the viewership, everything. Again, I don't think that they're to be compared, those two shows. I do think that it was smart on their part for X-Men 97 to come out first. It definitely set a precedent. And it also set just like the mature vibe as well. I agree that this is very much falling on like the kids show sort of level, but I don't think that all of their content will be like that. I did also watch some of What If, and some of that isn't, I would say, kids related. So I mean, maybe this was, like you said, like their attempt to appeal to like a younger audience and to tell the story again. But then you also get into like the whole argument of like, how many times are we gonna tell this story?
Spider-Man.
You know,
I totally agree with you. So one thing, as you're talking, I'm just doing like, some of the character choices are so interesting to me. Like there is no Mary Jane there, and we've seen that again over and over again. But like Lonnie, for example, like Lonnie's a character that I actually like. I was happy to see that they introduced a newer character, and they gave, even if it was first, and maybe we'll get more of it across the 10 episodes, but like getting to see, it was meaningful in the choice that they allowed him to have his relationship established with Peter, and then established that when Peter was leaving, that he was upset that he couldn't have a friend in that moment, and then he was going back to his home where there's like, you see how that plays out, like that there's an expectation that he's got to help his brother with homework, and that he's the one that's figuring things out for his family. And I think it's I don't know if it's his father.
I'm sorry.
I think that that's interesting that they're deciding to flesh out something like that with a side character, so to speak.
Yeah.
That it's going to play something more. And I just so Lonnie Lincoln is a character in the comics.
Oh, really?
And he becomes a villain. And so does Nico, maybe. So I think that part of what they're doing potentially, especially if this was going to be originally named Freshman Year, could be things playing out over time. I don't know if that means we're going to get time jumps. I don't know if it's going to be a 4-season show and it's going to be freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years, and then, you know what I mean? But I do think it's going to be interesting to sort of see how they bring all these things together, because now, even through 2 episodes, we have a Wakandan, we have a Connors, we have an Osborn, we have the Hulk's son, we have now 2 other characters in the comics that are lesser known. There is a love interest. Like, there's like, it's not beating you over the head with it at all, but the other thing is, like, you can't get invested or care as much as you would in like the larger web of what the MCU would do. I think because of some of that like stiff animation. You know what I mean? Like, it's like jarring. It's like, I don't know if I can tune into this and enjoy it week to week.
Yeah.
You had something?
I was just going to say to the whole Lonnie thing. I think that's why I jumped my initial thought into like the whole race comment was because that immediately became like a race situation. Yeah. Like when you saw like the bus scene, like, and like the mom pulled away, like, and then the whole cop situation, like it very clearly was trying to depict that world. And that's something that I feel like, even in like coming from Miles Morales, like that's something like a topic that we really haven't seen in this.
It's also like the opposite of being childish. Like, it's like,
yeah,
I don't know if it fits the tone of the show, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like they're trying to have more mature themes, but they're doing it with a glossy lens of, you know what I mean?
And it's weird that they're trying to do that through Peter's story, because it's like, is that the, like, I don't know.
Well, they probably couldn't. That's the also. I mean, again, I can't even comment on the rights issue with this because I don't know, because it's animated, but they're using Peter, who's owned by Sony. Because I'm thinking, like, I don't know if you're alluding to this, but it's like they could have used Miles. for this whole story. It would be it would literally be fucking pointless because they're doing it with Spider-Verse anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like, so then like you're saying, like why focus on that aspect of the story if we're going to revolve the whole story around Peter, and then we're going to surround him with characters from a different race and tell their story at the same time. Like it's a weird, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird framing of how they're doing it.
And it could be cool if it is a situation where right now we are just establishing these relationships, and you want us to like sympathize for a lot of these characters. I mean, that could be cool. It's weird to just off the bat like kind of go into it like that. But I mean, if it is like a technique, hearing that like he is a villain in the comics, because then at that point, like everybody that is kind of like showing a little bit of like empathy and like care for Peter at this point, in some ways alluding to being a villain from what we've seen before. Connors, now we know about this character, everybody. So like it could be a cool strategic tool as far as like that. I just think it's so like right in our face, like a first episode. Oh, like we're covering race topics almost. Like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, I wish I had more to comment on that. I don't really have much else to say about that particularly, but I will say I did bring up from a year ago when they first released the promo images. I don't know at what event it was.
Yeah, it was like either D23 or Comic-Con or something.
This is not the same show. It's not the same show. So
that's crazy.
That's a different Aunt May. That's a completely different woman right there.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like wow.
Yeah, that's 2D.
I mean, the animation style. Yeah, the animation style is even like it looks like hand drawn.
Oh yeah, it is hand drawn in this. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
concept.
that would have a lot to do with the probably the I don't know. It feels jarring. Like there's moments with the animation where it really feels jarring. I hope that maybe that improves over time. Maybe it can improve over time. I thought the action scenes had actually worked better. I don't know if either of you guys felt that way. Like the scene in the first episode with the robbers, when they're like live streaming the thing. I felt like that whole sequence was actually really well done. But it's like when two characters are interacting with each other, not all of it always looks like it's fully rendered. it just looks very strange.
Mouths are not like
yes.
Yeah, I also noticed particularly when he's swinging around, they make and this has been a trend with 3D anime ever since Spider-Verse. It's been a trend where now all 3D animated projects are now frame skipping to make it look like retro and old and like as if it was done analog, frame by frame. And they employ that same artistic choice here, where there's frame skipping, and it makes it look choppy on purpose. It works with Spider-Verse because there's so much more oomph to it. Like when, let's say in Into the Spider-Verse, right, when the alternate universe Miles punches the boxing bag, right. And frame skipping there works so well because it's whoomp, and then boom, the punch is like 2 frames, and it's just explosive with color, and there's so much exaggeration. In this, there's none of that, right? Yeah. So they're trying to take these artistic trends, but not really emphasizing the reason why they're there. So I'm curious what the show would look like if it kept the same animation style, but like took some different choices, like took away the frame skipping or took away the shading, fixed up some of the expressions and the mouth. Idle animation's very weird in the show, like especially with Nico, like it's like The Sims. Like when you're playing The Sims, like The Sims have like idle animation. That's what it reminded me of. Not terrible. It's just like, this is Disney. You expect from the biggest conglomerate, basically media conglomerate in the world, you expect crazy good stuff, So also, real quick, sorry, because I'm all over the place right now, but my initial thought and why I brought this up, when he was swinging through the streets, once again, not terrible, but it is jarring when you mentioned that the backgrounds are very weirdly animated.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
static.
They're very static. It is also on top of that, you have like it looks like buildings are missing or buildings are just like one solid color. Honestly, also the lack of blur. Like there's no like focus. Like
Yeah.
everything's in focus.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like blur the background or something. I don't know. It looked like parts of the map was missing. Like when you're playing a video game and like the chunks aren't rendering.
Yeah.
Like it kind of looked like that at points.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that just to go on one of the positives, because I think that you brought up one of the characters where you like, I think you were saying you liked more of that, and Dr. Whitman, the doctor that's in, like, I like the interactions with him. I thought his character was actually really funny, and he knew how to interact with the kids and be like, I can't believe they have me in here, like babysitting these kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But some of the voice acting choices I think are the opposite. Some of them I'm like, this feels pretty vanilla, you know, like it just feels like there's not much to their performance. What are they doing to enhance their characters? Like it doesn't feel like you're getting that from a lot of these things.